I'm trying desperately to remember this fragment of Rumi that I can't remember. So like the question is, do I misquote it so badly that it like mangles this beautiful poetry, or do I just blow it off? God. I mean, it's already in English, so it's already mangled away from the Farsi it was written in. But the essence of the idea of the poem is that this person is trying really, really hard to find God or find divinity, and breaking themselves, knocking on this door, knocking on this door, knocking on the door, and finally the door opens and they realize they've been knocking from the inside the whole time. Right? The very thing they wanted was right there all along, right? And somebody wants to look up that quote, like normal American translation of that quote, feel free. It's a beautiful poem. But you know, if I was Matthew, I'd have it on my piece of paper. But I didn't prepare as well as him. On my clipboard. But it seems like kind of a joke, like lots of these Sufi poems and Sufi teaching stories sound like jokes, or sort of like they're farcical. Like Mullah Nasruddin teaching stories are all farcical. You know, I lost my keys. I can't find my keys. They're out here in the darkness somewhere. And so Mullah Nasruddin is out in the yard, out in the street, looking for his keys under the street light. And they're like, "Well, where'd you lose them?" And he's like, "Well, over there, in the darkness. But the light's much better over here." You know, that kind of they're all like that. So this they have that farcical quality, or it sounds like it's a joke. But the thing with Rumi is talking about something very real, of trying really hard to get something that you've already got. And it reminds me of a whole bunch of like 50 different times in India, but the time that really occurs to me right now is when I was on a trip to a pilgrimage to Hemkund. Anybody know Hemkund? Yeah. So it's a sacred pilgrimage site for the Sikh faith. And it's the place where, I believe it's the place where Guru Gobind Singh did his sadhana, yeah. So one of the founders of the Sikh faith did his spiritual practices up there, way, way, way up in the mountains by a place called the Valley of the Flowers. And so me and a group of people were going up there, and it's you know, it's in Himalaya, it's quite a ways up there. So we had gathered at sort of a base camp, and it's not like mountain climbing, it's not like ropes and hammers and stuff, but it's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of feet up there, over like a lot of granite mountain. And so most of the group was going to ride donkeys up there. And they had been arranged for us, here's your donkey. And so everyone gets on the donkey, but you know, I took a look at these donkeys and they're like covered in sores. So these are not like fresh, happy, well taken care of, organic donkeys, you know? These are like animals that have been treated like they're some kind of farm equipment for a really long time. And I was not gonna ride one of these creatures, no way. So I got in a big fight with, you know, my teacher at the time, who I think was just completely, I don't know, I won't speculate on what that person was thinking, but I just said, yeah, I'm not gonna do it. And they yelled at me for a long time about why I was gonna do it and I should do it and how dangerous it was to not ride the donkey and how I'd be hours and hours and hours behind. and get lost and probably fall off the mountain and die. And I said, fine, I'm not riding that donkey. So I started walking up the hill, and by hill I mean, you know, a 15,000, 16,000 foot peak. And so it was exactly like it sounds. You know, you're walking up the trail, and then you're walking, and it's interesting there. At first there's all these kind of food stalls and tea shops and stuff. It was really nice. Get yourself kind of well fed and well caffeinated. You're ready to go, and there's people coming back from the pilgrimage, and it's, you know, it's the middle of kind of an intense area. So there's like these 6'9" tall guys with like AK-47s coming back from their pilgrimage, you know, huge handlebar mustaches and stuff. It was very unusual place. I really thought it was fascinating, but that was the beginning of it. I'm just watching these people come back from the pilgrimage, and so I kept going and kept going and kept going, and you know, you start to get tired, you sit down, but there's another chai shop, save the chai. But that's just the morning, and by afternoon, you know, you're climbing up. They have some steps cut into the rock, but it's like straight up, you know. And there's no. This is India. There was, at least back then, there weren't any ropes or any, you know, like guardrail. It's just, you know, some steps in the rock with like a 5,000 foot drop straight down, but I'm like, I gotta get up there. I'm gonna get up there to the holy place. And you're going through like the silvery mist, because you're so high up in the mountains, like the sun is shining through the mist and making like this silver light that goes in every direction. And you're like kind of can't breathe. So you're getting really foggy about everything, and just keep walking, gotta get there. Starting to get super cold. By now it's like 4 p.m. Just keep going. So I eventually got up there, and it was like 2 hours before all the people on the donkey showed up. But, you know, of course, because I was doing the straight up thing, and they were like on the donkey trail. And I didn't fall off, although he was right. It was pretty not particularly safe. And I got there, and instead of being at a peak, you're at this big valley of the flowers, right? And there's a gurudwara there, which is like a Sikh temple, incredibly gorgeous, and a big lake. And you know, Sikh men have super long hair, so they're washing their hair in the lake. It was cool, but it was very, very, very peaceful, right? You get up there and there's a lot of people and stuff, but it was calm and relaxed. And after that big journey, it was wonderful. And eventually my friends on the donkeys showed up, and we hung out. Totally worth doing, right? Beautiful place. And, you know, except for Amritsar, the Golden Temple, it's like maybe holy place number 2 for the Sikh faith. So I liked being there. But why it occurs to me now is, you know, I got up there and it was peaceful. And it was pleasant and relaxed. And it was peaceful and pleasant and relaxed at the base camp. You know, and it was beautiful and sweet, you know, 2 miles over there in the Valley of the Flowers. And it just kind of dawned on me like, hey, that stillness and peace was already there. Like, before I climbed all day. And I like climbing, so it's not like I thought I had wasted my time or anything. Far from it. I loved being up there, but the lesson was kind of like, hey, it's already Like the giant fight you had with the guy about the donkeys and all, just the whole thing was just total nonsense, right? It's like the peace and the stillness and the silence and even the nature is already there, right? There's really no place that's not nature. And, you know, I probably reenacted that scene in one way or another like 10,000 times. Like, I'm going to go to Gomukh, the source of the Ganges, and I did that, and you get up there, and it's a big blue glacier, and it's, you know, like Blue Planet documentary, gorgeous, and pieces of it are falling off into the water. It could not be more amazing. And at the same time, it's quiet and still and peaceful and natural, right? It's just gorgeous. But the thing that I was like looking for, just, you know how they say wherever you go, like, doesn't matter because you'll take your problems with you. You've heard this? You can go to the most peaceful place on earth and you'll just take your problems with you, so why bother? It works the other way. No one ever tells you it works the other way around, which is the stillness and peace and silence is already in there. You don't have to go anywhere else to find it. And you know, I'm talking, that's like a physical location version. Like, you know, I gotta go, I went to 1 million pilgrimages all over the world. That was my deal. Only to find out, yeah, you didn't really have to do that. So that's like the physical version, but there's another version of like, I gotta change myself to find the enlightenment, or I gotta change myself to find the peace. It's the same idea, right? Something has to be different. And sure, okay, change yourself. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're looking for like peace or freedom or stillness, it's already in there. You don't have to generate it somehow. Like, I gotta get, my deal was like, you know, I'm gonna get really intense, meditate really hard until I feel peaceful. It sounds funny, right? But I mean, I was totally into it. Like, that is the kind of the standard issue version of it for some traditions. Like, you're just gonna meditate your ass off till you feel better. And usually the feeling better is when you're so tired you just relax finally, you know? And just feel better. Because you're so worn out that you stop trying for a minute. Not that any of you have ever done that, but I did it a lot. And both of those versions are like this idea that something either outside has to change or something inside has to change. And again, hey, change the outside, change the inside all you want. That's cool. That's fun, that's interesting, that's powerful. It's all sorts of things, but it's not necessary. Because the stillness is already happening in there. You just have to open your eyes. It's already there. It might be 1/billionth of your experience right now because you're so used to focusing on other things, but it's there. You can, even if your body's in a lot of pain, you can always find a place that doesn't hurt, or at least that hurts the least. And start focusing on that. Even if your mind is chaos right now, there's some part of your experience, even if your mind is like, what's the gym word? Like squirming like a toad, right? That's happening like right here, and like right about there, it's very still. Or right about there, or right about there. Like just outside of the center of it, it's perfectly still. The only reason you're not noticing it is you're focusing down on the squirming toad and you just keep looking at it and keep looking at it. And it's like, oh, my monkey mind is so terrible and I can't stand my thoughts. And I hear this kind of thing all the time. Please help me stop thinking. And I understand. I mean, I certainly had my share of super fucked up thoughts. One of the reasons, people would ask me when I was a teenager, like, why are you meditating? And I'm like, I can't stand my mind. I just hate my mind so much. So, I get it. But what no one showed me, and I wish they had showed me, is it's like not about changing your mind. It's just that like right about there, it's already quiet. 1 millimeter away from the center, it's still already. And you're just focusing on the part that isn't still. So, a huge lesson for me anyway was like, hey, it's already there. And people would tell me that all the time. It's already there, Michael. Or Mahesh, you don't have to look outside yourself. And I thought, man, they are just fucking with me. Like, they are just fucking with my head. That is not true. Shut up. But they weren't just, well, they might have been, but it is true. Several of them may have been fucking with me, but actually they were saying something that is true nevertheless, which is it is already there, and it's not there in some theoretical way or in some, you could see it if you were already perfect enough to see it, sort of way. That's how I thought they were fucking with me. Like, if you were a saint, you could see your saintliness. I was just like, like, that's not how it's going to work for me. But that's not what I mean at all. I mean, actually, right now, without being a saint, you can see that. It's just like pointing your attention at it. And it's not like, well, if you had the laser beam focus trained, you could point your attention at it. I don't even mean it that way, even though that really helps, because you could stay focused on it. But no, I don't even mean it that way. I mean with your regular mind right now, if you start seeking out on purpose in your own experience the parts of your thinking that's still, the part of your feeling body that's relatively at rest, the part of your emotional experience that's kind of peaceful, you'll start moving attention in the direction of this stuff that's already totally still. And already completely at peace and already completely free. It's already in there. You're just not used to focusing on it. And so, again, I'm not even saying like you have to become special at focus. I'm just saying just like if I said, follow your nose to the kitchen, you could do it. Like, oh, there's bread baking in there. You can sort of follow your nose. It's that sort of thing. Just start allowing awareness to go towards the freedom and the peace and the stillness. It's already in there. And you're just not used to going there. You're used to going to everything that's fucked up, or everything that's super intense, or everything that's really, really fun but loud, which is great. Go to that stuff. But if you actually want some peace and some freedom and some stillness and even some nature, like the surface of your mind might feel like some kind of Borg cube or something, but deep inside there, it is natural. Just as natural as anything, right? The most natural stuff. It's already there. It's already wild. It's already holy. It's already awe-inspiring. It's just about kind of following your nose in that direction. And so, by all means, if you feel like making a pilgrimage to Heimkund, do it. It's worth it. Just don't ride the donkeys, please. Walk there. It's better for you anyway. The donkeys will appreciate it. I'll appreciate it. I still paid for my donkey guy, by the way, because he needed an income. But, that donkey did not need me to ride it. So pay the guys liberally and then walk there. And by all means, it's fun, it's cool, but don't think that you need to. just learn to concentrate on the better neighborhoods inside you that are already there. You know? Because they're already there. And what's weird is the more you concentrate on that, the more that the stuff that's difficult, that's messed up and all that starts to rearrange itself. The poison starts to drain, the trauma starts to resolve, the insanity in your life starts to kind of calm down because of you just continually going to the peace and the stillness and the silence in there. Yeah, I was reading this book by Roshi Joan Halifax. You guys know her? She's really cool, nice lady. She's awesome. Nice is exactly the wrong word for her. Super intense, cool, creative, brilliant woman. And you know, this whole book, which is, I'm totally failing to remember the title of right now, is about like going to like the furthest reaches in the back of beyond and doing like a 3-month retreat with no food while, you know, staring at a rock or something. Because, you know, it's like you gotta go to the silence, you gotta go to the peace, you gotta go to the stillness. And she's right, it's so cool, like to let the nature have the stillness and infuse you with it, or the space, or the naturalness, or the peace, or whatever. It's right there, right, in nature. So it's a great book, very good writer. She used to collaborate with Joseph Campbell to write a bunch of books about mythology and shamans and stuff. But you know, it's really into like, then I was in the desert for 6 years. And, you know, a lizard was my friend kind of thing. And it's just awesome. I'm like, you know, love reading this. And at the same time, I'm like, you know, you don't have to do that. I like doing it, but it's in there already. You know. So I think I've made this point clearly. If anybody tells you you have to go somewhere or do something to find it, just say whatever you want to say. All right. Questions, comments, reports? Postmodern deconstructions? Flippant bullshit? Carolyn, what do you have to say for yourself?
I was just thinking about how I, of course, agree with you, but it's like I need cues. I have like little tricks that I do that are sort of visual in nature that get me there faster. Even though I'm going to try this to kind of check in with the parts that are sort of at peace or that aren't hurting in my body or whatever, and kind of maybe use that technique as well. But there are a couple images that I can conjure that are in my little bag of tricks that do that, and that makes me wonder, whatever gets you there, right, but it also, I suppose I could deconstruct that and feel that that's phony or something. You know?
Well, no, the point isn't that it's phony. I agree with you completely. There's cool tricks. Even like I said, hey, go up to, you know, hike up to the top of Himalaya to a pilgrimage site. That's cool. I'm just saying, you know, like even in image space, you're talking about these images, there's already, like notice the image you can have of just vast empty space. It's already there, right? It's not a better or worse image, but if you want some space and freedom, just notice that a huge part of mental image of the imagination is just available to be just vast blankness, right? That's kind of interesting. It's right there. Like that. You know, and if you want to use some other mental images to go in whatever direction, great. My point is that this is almost like a just noticing what's already there. That's all. I felt like I had to kill myself internally and do stuff externally to get there always, and it turns out you don't. But you always can if you feel like it. Yes?
I used to have a habit where I used to feel like I could only meditate in certain spots. There had to be the right spot. Like the temperature had to be right. And I travel like 3 hours into the forest and, find some beautiful spot, and I just do exactly what I did at home. And I realized that there, but when I was home, I couldn't overcome the thoughts that I wasn't doing it right, I wasn't there enough, I didn't have this, and this to make it. Could you speak to how you could kind of ease those pre-existing emotions?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I get you. I used to do that. I lived in Japan. I'd walk like 3 hours up into the mountains to find like a really beautiful spot by a creek and with like dragonflies and the summer sun, and just have a great meditation, right? And when I was back in the city in Kobe, in like my 4.5 tatami apartment with like the smelly bathroom, it was hard. And but what you learn is that there you are up in the mountains, and you get used to that feeling, like, okay, that's what peace and stillness and quiet is like inside, because the external reality is reflecting that in. And of course, this is what part of what Roshi Chon is talking about, is like the nature will show you the peace and the silence. But then it teaches you what that's like, so that then you can find it, right? If you've never experienced any, it's hard to follow your nose, right? But if you know what it's like, then you can begin to do that. And what's weird is, even if you discover it externally, but don't believe it's there internally, sometimes it will just present itself. Like, for me, a big thing was I really like taking naps. I always have. Take an afternoon nap, always. And I'm one of those people, I can take a 10-minute, 15-minute nap and just be like good as new, like I had a night's sleep. Bonk. And, but what's weird is sometimes even in the middle of the city, and the smelly bathroom, and the cockroaches in the garbage, and all kinds of stuff, really distracting stuff. You take that nap, and there's this one moment where it would just be perfectly still inside. My brain would be like, my mind would be the size of the universe, and it's just still and quiet. And it's like, I'd wake up really slow, and I'd notice that's still in there. That's actually there all the time. You start getting involved in watching a movie or, doing your work, and you kind of shrink your attention down to what you're doing. But if you relax, that thing is still there. It never goes anywhere. So it's all a matter of experience after experience after experience, noticing that part of you is always in that place that you want to find. So you, in a way, don't have to find it. Just you have to notice it. So these external things teach you little by little, or internal kind of deeper experiences teach you little by little what that's like. Not only the quality-wise, like, oh, that's what real silence is like, that's what real peace is like, that's what nature feels like. But also, the further lesson is like, and it's always there. In some part of your experience, it's always there. So you piece it together. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're actually kind of getting, like you go out 3 hours into the woods, you're asking the woods to meditate for you, right? And it works. They will meditate for you. So little by little, they show you how to do it. Yes. What is your name? What's your name?
Oh, Jim.
Jim.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I appreciate about the center is that you learn to meditate with car alarms and people yelling.
Yeah. And remember, and those are great mindfulness bells, right? You don't have to remember to not be as distracted as much when you remember that every one of the car alarms, every one of the people, every time someone screams, it's bringing you back, bringing you back, bringing you back to your concentration. It really helps. Yes?
I come up with an image, and I wonder if you could tell me if I'm off on this.
You're so wrong right now. I can't tell you. No, okay.
I have a friend who does, he works in a sound truck for basketball games, and so he has all these images that are taken from different cameras. He's in a truck, and it's his job to figure out, okay, which image to put on.
Yeah, he's producing the show. Yeah, got it.
So what I kind of think of it as what you've been talking about is we go through life, and in any snapshot, any moment, we've got 1,000 different images in front of us, and we can only choose a finite amount. And that's the skill, I think, that maybe I see you're describing, is pick the ones that are the ones that you want.
Or at least closer to the ones you want, and then get closer, and then get closer, and then get closer, right? It's a great image. It's a way of saying, choose, to put your attention towards the thing you're trying to experience, right? Awesome. You are not off base. You're radically on base. Yeah.
This whole discussion brings up there's an artist, a British artist that's doing very well right now in the Bay Area named Richard Walker, and he has a piece that is a collage, and it's a picture of a hand holding a rock, and it's put on top of a old photo of probably Mount Everest, and the rock is right at the peak of Mount Everest. It's just put right there, and you see the two, and the title of the piece is An Elusive Equivalence.
Nice.
And it really speaks to this so much, and I have that piece, and I look at it every day, and it just really speaks to me that mountain peak that you think you need to climb is the rock that's just sitting right in your hand.
That you've already got right there in your hand. It's a beautiful metaphor, yeah. Yes.
The other day I woke up, I was a little overtired, and that's not really good for my headspace, overtired. And I found myself like with these things that I wanted to do and time to do them, but there was an underlying sensation or a feeling of frustration. And I just found myself kind of just spinning around the house, not able to do anything, and knowing I was doing it. So it's sort of like, I understand, we can focus on the piece, focus on this and that, and some days, maybe most days I can do that well, but this other day it was just like, it was beyond me. It was like, it was out of control.
Yeah, but at least you knew it was happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The minute you know it's happening, notice that you can't keep spinning without space. It's the thing I try to show people again and again. It's really simple, but no matter how crazy your mind is, it can't be crazy unless there's space to be crazy in. And so just look at the space part. It's instantly relaxed, right? So even if you're zipping around your apartment but you're aware of it, then just notice, wow, there's room to zip around. I'm in a bunch of room. And it will just start to just suddenly flip everything, right? But if you can't do it, because whatever, then just at least know that it's like, oh, okay. I'm focusing on something else right now. I don't know why, but, and then you just relax. Yeah. Yes.
I really like what you said about you're talking about finding the spot. I think you corrected yourself, and at first you were saying finding a place in your body where there's no pain, and then you said where there's the least pain.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me.
You know, it's not correcting. I do make a lot of mistakes. It's not a mistake in that case. It's just I remember that some people will inevitably say, every spot in my body hurt.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay.
Well,
For you, the least painful spot.
Well, I mean, just the way that you did that was helpful for me, because I think I really struggle with wanting to kind of create a more peaceful situation and not just like letting what's happening flow through me. And I want to be happy, I want to find the peace, and I kind of end up struggling against it. And so thinking about it in terms of not having to find a pain-free spot or a perfectly calm spot, but being able to find like the most calm place in my mind or the least painful place. Very subtle difference, but I don't know, that just like that clicked with me in a way where I think that that's a helpful way for me to see it as I'm trying to let the universe flow through me and not like struggle against it to make myself happy and peaceful, which sometimes I feel like I get sucked into.
Yeah, and imagine what you just said. It's so fascinating. Like, I'm gonna let the universe flow through me and make myself happy. And it's like,
Right.
right? Exactly. Exactly. What about you, Juliana?
How's it going, Michael?
You know?
You know, I mean, it's sweet actually. Part of what I've been sitting here thinking about is this sort of relationship. There's two pieces. There's kind of the current capitalist society, sort of like
Capitalism? Did you just mention capitalism?
Yes,
Nice.
absolutely. Like we have to get it. I mean, it's a very materialistic, and we co-opt spirituality for that constantly. You know, if I go to the most attractive temple, if I get the best prayer shawl, if my cushion is, you know, the finest buckwheat, whatever, right? We can take anything, and then, you know, part of what I just kept on coming back to was thinking about being a little kid, and those moments of little pieces of concentration and actually noticing the thoughts, and for the first time, you know, noticing things arising, or being in nature and being alone and being very still and connecting with something really deep, and having no idea that it could be categorized under this kind of umbrella of spirituality, or that it could ever be something that I could try and force into a box and make it into something and turn it into striving, and how just easily the adult world takes this like very natural, childlike thing that I think we're all sort of returning to when we practice, and sort of tries to shape it into this experience that fits in with the rest of this world we've created.
This intense striving. Yeah. It's beautiful. Thank you. You know, it reminds me of the story of the rose apple tree, right? You know this story. So after the Buddha got his awakening moment, he remembered back to being a little kid. Not a little, but like an adolescent, like a teenager, early teens. 10. He's like 10 or 11 or 12 or something. None of those are teens. And a tween. And he was sitting by a river on like a grassy, you know, bank under a rose apple tree. And he remembered this moment because he realized he had already had a moment of awakening. Just totally naturally when he was a kid. I was just sitting there, and this is exactly what you're describing, this beautiful, natural, still moment. And it wasn't till all these years later, like 25, 30 years later, he's like, oh, It was already there. Yeah, thanks.
When you, as the gentleman behind me said too, when you said to focus on the area that has the least amount of pink, I came to it right here, just the sensation of your breath in and out. And I got this vision in my mind of a horse, because I had horses when I was young, and my favorite thing to do is just to put my hand like here and just feel them go.
Yeah, the breath, the wet breath, or nostrils.
Yeah, and just like them looking at you with their big eyelashes, and they are so just present when you're doing that to them. And I thought, oh, I'm like a horse right now. Very calming to
So yeah, that, you know, like we were talking about, nature in the form of a horse was teaching you something about stillness, and that's still in there, right? That natural beauty, peace, it's right there.
And it's like a knowing too, I think, with the eyes and that whole connection on the face.
Yeah, and so that experience is there to be found inside yourself, right? It's really cool. I want to make some kind of horse joke right now, but I won't. Yes.
I will. As a former ranch hand, that is not my experience. My horse is tremendously absent-minded.
Do you ever get compared to Lucius Malfoy? Yeah. Okay.
Hey, thanks for the talk. And, I'm hungry for a piece that I feel is missing. There's a lot of for me, the focus on where we were at and compared to where we went, and going like, yeah, you already had that even though you went there. But I'm so, feel like I'm missing like all the journey, you know what I mean? Like we go on a trip and it's like, I'm just thinking back to my recent trip to Hawaii. Hawaii was beautiful.
Where'd you go?
North Shore.
Na Pali Coast.
It was beautiful.
It sure is.
Yeah, we splurged on the helicopter ride and did all that stuff. But like, I'm thinking of like some of the unpleasant stuff, and even like the flight home, and like the boring times, and like every moment. You know what I'm saying? Even the planning of the trip. There's all the pieces in between. We heard like walking 3 miles into the forest, but like, how are you experiencing like that walk? You see what I'm saying? Like,
I do, yeah. The journey is the fucking destination.
I want you to tell me, like, I'm there too in the journey, you know? Like
you are. In fact, like I said, take the journey. It's great. Just remember that you don't, it's not like a punishment, you know? You don't have to do it to get to this one special thing. The special thing is already there, right? As you're saying, in every step of the journey, right? So, God, by all means, take the fucking journey. And at the same time, like, just drop it for a second. You know, drop it.
And I really practice being present in that middle part.
Yeah, but there is no middle part.
You're setting yourself up for disappointment. I mean, we went to day 2 or 3, you know, and we're looking on the North Shore of Hawaii going like, looks like home. Like we're from the coast side. It's like there's a strip of highway. There's a little town there. One over here. You know, we were there.
Yeah.
Right at home. Felt right at home there, which was great. But I really want to let go of the expectations of either place, of knowing that I'm comfortable at home, and like what it's like to be back, and how exciting it is to be on a trip, and like doing it on purpose. Like I loathe the fucking mall. You know what I mean? The department store. But I found that to be like the most important place for me to practice.
Great.
It's like all the shitty lights and the angry people. And I can just go.
There's no lies in a mall.
Like check me out.
No lies at all. Yeah. You know, you're there at home in the expectations too, right? Yeah, awesome. I love Kauai. Yeah, thanks. All right, wonderful people. It is now after 9 o'clock. It is past my bedtime. Um, there are two tiny animals at home that are like looking at their Mickey Mouse watches and want to be fed. So I am going to go back home and feed them. So this is where I switch into begging you for money because the center is dying. So look at how many people are here. Lots of people, but the center doesn't have any money. Like it's actually, you know, in danger of going away. So contribute so that we can keep the door open and keep meditating and all that. That would be good. That would be good. If you can buy a latte today, maybe you can contribute $5 to the center. Huh?
More.
Jimmy says more. He's greedy, but really nice.
It's like putting food in your cupboard. We're just contributing to ourselves, you know, comes down to it.
If you feel like giving a talk on that, feel free. I agree completely. Thank you, everybody. It's great to see you. And remember, we do Thursday nights in here also, which is a rockin' blast. So we'll see you there. Bye-bye.